Welcome everyone to Veganic Gardeners Question Time. I'm your host, Giles Bryant. And I tell you what, as I was watching that brilliant video, I was just enjoying a little bit of tea. And this tea is local. It's from their garden. It's mint, rosemary and thyme. And there's no packaging. There's no food miles. There's no pesticides running into the waters and the seas. There's no harm to any animals. So don't panic when it is veganic. We have got a fantastic show lined up for you today with panelists from all over the world. Questions indeed being sent in from all over the world as well. And I tell you what, I'd love people out there, if you can, just send us a message and let us know where you are watching from in the world today. And if you want more information about the Vegan Organic Network, I'm going to give you the website right away. It's veganorganic.net. And we give great thanks for the Vegan Organic Network bringing us all together for this show, bringing all the panelists together. Few very quick announcements. Our friends at Learn Veganic, we love them, Meg and Stefan. Meg sent me a message and she said, Giles, please let everyone know that in a week's time, that's February the 4th, the Vegan Organic Network is hosting the Vegan Organic Map Meetup. Yes, indeed, because they had this incredible idea. Von had this incredible idea, the maestro did. Let's put ourselves on the map. So if you grow veganically or if you support veganic growing, then you can get involved in that. And that's February the 4th. At 7 to 8 UK time. So please, Dan from Manchester. Welcome, Dan. So that's vonmap.org. Now, another thing that I've got to mention, because it is absolutely brilliant, is the Learn Veganic online gardening course. It's 14 hours of lessons, live question and answers. That starts on February the 11th, learnveganic.com. And they have an amazing free 1 hour presentation that you can sign up for as well on their website. Well, I tell you what, if you want to transform the way your food is grown, and if you want to learn tips about how to grow incredibly healthy, sustainable, kind, it's green, free and cruelty free, then you're in the right place. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to welcome our panelists. Now, the first panelist, one of my favorites, top guy, is Piers Warren. He's a conservationist, he's a filmmaker, author, and a keen grower of veganic fruit and veg. He's the author of many books, which you will see graced in my bookcase, some of them. And I'm really getting stuck into the vegan Cook and Gardener, which he co-wrote with his beautiful daughter, and How to Store Your Garden Produce, which has just become one of my favorites as well. So welcome, everyone. His website is pierswarren.co.uk if you all want to order any of those books. Piers, are you there?
I am here, yes. Hi, Giles.
Hi, Piers. How is the year going for you so far?
Well, it's been pretty stormy so far. We had a Storm Chandra only a couple of days ago, which was just throwing horizontal rain at us for maybe 10 hours or so. And so it's been pretty rough, but today it's been sunny. And so I've been outside looking around and seeing signs of life, nearly February now, and the bulbs are coming up and my fingers are just itching to get in the soil and start growing some new stuff. I did actually sow a few seeds today, which were broad bean seeds, but it's not quite warm enough for some of the other stuff. So itching to get going.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Well, we look forward to hearing about your further exploits and wisdom later on. Thank you, Piers. Next guest up, Rhonda T. Wallace. Now, Rhonda's one of those people. Rhonda T is one of those people. I can't wait to meet her in person and give her a big hug. She's lovely. 4 decades of gardening experience. She's cultivated a variety of crops. And in 2016, she founded Terra Farm Sanctuary, which is a non-profit dedicated to making a safe and permanent home for rescued farm animals. And they also have an amazing veganic farm on site. The website, terrafarmsanctuary.org. It's a certified veganic farm. Rhonda T, are you there?
Hello. How are you?
I'm very well, Rhonda T. It is fantastic to see you. And how is life treating you in the US of A?
It's treating us very well, albeit strangely, as far as the weather is concerned. We should be under feet of snow right now, and there isn't a speck to be seen. We are seeing strangely warm temperatures and not a lot of moisture. So we're in a drought, which is not a good thing, but it makes me ever more eager to start digging in the soil outside. So the season's going to change soon, and I'm excited.
Beautiful. Now, Rhonda T, can you just remind the viewers where you are in America?
So in the U.S., we are on the if you look at the United States, we're in Washington State, which is the very upper left-hand state. We're close to Canada, to the north. So that's where we are. I am in the high desert. So I am in, typically the weather is different on the west side of the state than it is on the east side of the state. I'm on the east side, and unlike Seattle and some of the west side cities, we're very, very dry and warm and have pretty good winters for the most part. So that's where I am.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. We look forward to hearing your wisdom later, Rhonda T. And last but not least at all, because she is absolutely fantastic, is Maureen Robinson, herbalist extraordinaire. It's over 25 years of working with herbs and sharing the green knowledge. She co-founded the Scottish School of Herbal Medicine back in 1992. She doesn't look old enough, does she? And in 2012, established the Herbal Apprenticeship at the beautiful farm there on the Isle of Arran, before relocating to Portugal. Well, we can't blame you for that. And her work in Peru and Ecuador with shamans and teacher plants has deepened her healing and rejuvenation practices. Oh, yes, it has. It's the herbalpath.net. That's Maureen's website. Maureen, are you there?
Hello, Giles.
Oh, it's lovely to see you. And how are you?
I'm good. I'm very good.
And
I'm actually in Ireland at the moment. I'm not in Portugal.
Well,
So
I tell you what, we love the global nature. You're in a storm in Ireland.
Yeah, well, yesterday the same one that Piers was talking about was happening here. And actually, I have friends still in Portugal at the moment who are saying that they've had lots of rain and it's very stormy there. So I think it's the same system that's coming from the other side of the Atlantic that's influencing us here as well.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the great things about, the knowledge that we're all sharing is yeah, things change, but how can we adapt? How can we work with it, to the best of our ability? Well, we've got some questions, Maureen. I think some of the people around the world, the Von people around the world knew you were coming on, so we got some to test some of your herbal knowledge and your greater knowledge of growing. So it's wonderful that you're here as well. Well, Maestro, do you know what? We get sent questions in from all over the world, and we got one that came in like very last minute, panel, right? So it's so last minute. Maestro didn't even get a chance to load up the slide, so I'm just gonna read it out. And it was actually sent to us from Brazil in Portuguese. Now, my Portuguese is probably about as good as my Mandarin, but thanks to the wonders of the internet, I was able to translate it. And it's Kelsko from Brazil who says, "Hello, what plants do you suggest for organic vegetable fertilizer? Can you help me?" So, panel, what could we do for Kelsko? He wants to, or they wants to. What plants can we use? Who wants to start us off? Go on, Piers. You start us off.
Well, of course, we could be talking about green manures and any plants to make compost, for example. But I'm going to mention the ones that you can use to make a liquid feed fertilizer, and the two main ones are nettles and comfrey. And nettles, with both of them, you just stuff a bucket full, fill it with water, and let it ferment for a couple of weeks. With nettles, I do that earlier in the year because it's high in nitrogen, so it's good to feed the young plants and get them going with lots of growth for strength early in the season. and then comfrey high in potassium later on in the season when the plants start to fruit. So you just dilute it 1 part to 10 with water and water them once a week or something like that. And that's, you know, it's free and it's a great fertilizer.
Beautiful, beautiful. Maureen, do you have anything to add to that you might put into the mix?
Well, it depends whether they're close to the coast or not, but seaweed is obviously such a fantastic fertilizer. And what we used to do in Scotland, when I lived in Scotland, around October, November time, we would go down to the shore and load up trailers load of seaweed and put it about foot deep on the beds. And then that would like rot down and mulch down during the winter, so that by the time you got to sowing your startups or your seeding your beds, the seaweed has sort of reduced down to pretty much nothing. You know, it's just it's covered it enough. There's enough left to mulch and not have too many weeds, but all the goodness has gone in. And I think Piers has definitely made the right decision planting his broad beans, because the favas with their nitrogen fixing bacteria on the root nodes are a really magnificent fertilizer as well. And the great thing about fava plants is that you can grow them really close together, and then when they've grown up and they're starting to flower and thinking about fruiting, you can cut some of them back, and you can cut them right on the same level as the ground. So you keep the nitrogen fixing bacteria, not root nodules, in the ground, continuing to do their job. And then you let the leafing, heavy plant dense upper part, just drop it on the ground as mulch. And then you keep some of them, you don't cut them all back. You keep some to then go on and make to fruit and form the broad bean pods. So you can eat your broad beans and save some for the next cycle. So it's a really, really fantastic plant all round. Chop and drop, mulch. You've got your nitrogen fixing root nodes, and you've got your vegetable.
Amazing. What isn't nature just absolutely incredible? Just love it. Rhonda T, if you were going to make a liquid fertilizer for our friend in Brazil, would you, anything else you'd add in there?
I would add, our nettles here are vicious. They chase you. So I don't go near them. They're extremely scary plants. I actually use calendula and comfrey and grass clippings and some molasses is what I use, and let it sit until it gets very stinky and thick. And then I stir it up till it's dissolved. I leave it in the shade covered, and then I use it diluted with water, and that's what I use. It's very high in nitrogen and other nutrients, very high in microbic life, and it's a great, albeit smelly, option.
Yeah, that might be a warning as well to our friend in Brazil. I mean, the brew I make, but anyway, it's good for you. Okay, let's get into it then. That was just a starter. Let's get into it. Maestro, do we have the official first one? Now, this is from my dear old wife. Not so much of the old. She says, I had to buy some seed compost the other day. She was just itching to get planting in the old inside. How can I start seeds off without buying compost from the shops, right? So obviously you can make your own. Now, Rhonda T, I'm just going to start with you because you've got some trick with this, don't you, with seeds?
I actually just make, I don't know that I make it without purchasing any ingredients, because I do purchase cocoa coir times perlite or vermiculite. I use a lot of leaf mold. So rotted down fall deciduous leaves, and then I add something to lighten it up, perlite, vermiculite. Sometimes I add some cocoa coir, and alfalfa pellets, a little bit of alfalfa pellets to the whole mix, and hydrate it, let it sit for a while, and that's typically what I use.
Brilliant, brilliant. So, Maureen or Piers, do you ever make your own seed compost? I mean, I do. I get the old, sieve out and try and get some fine stuff from the compost. But I think Juliet, she was in a rush. She couldn't be bothered with that.
Well, I make some from old turfs that I've dug up from the lawn when I'm making new beds, and I stack them turf side down, and just leave them in the corner of a garden for months and months, and they gradually break down and make a good kind of fine tilth, and you can use that. You can you can. It's relatively seed free compared to other homemade composts. The other thing I was going to add was, don't forget, a lot of seeds can be started off on wet paper, like kitchen towel, for example. Just get a plastic box, lay some kitchen towel, make it good and wet, and then sprinkle seeds over that. All sorts of salads and brassicas and radish and all sorts of things will germinate perfectly well. You can have it on a windowsill indoors, and then when they get couple of inches tall, you can, for a start, you can cut them and eat them as they are, as shoots, but also you can then prick off the individual plants to plant them outside. Now, obviously, you wouldn't be doing this in February, when we may well get some nasty frosts still, which would kill off the seedlings straight away. But you could move them into a greenhouse, or try that technique a bit later in the year.
Brilliant. That's superb. Maureen, over to you. Seed compost. Do you any experience making your own?
I haven't actually made my own, but I love Pierce's idea of sprouting them on a damp, like kitchen paper or something, and indeed that's how you can sprout your own sprouts as well, like alfalfa sprouts or fenugreek sprouts. So I really love that idea. Yeah.
It's a good way to determine your seed germination rate as well. If you have old seeds and you don't, you're not really sure if they're going to be viable, and if you want to take the time to plant them out, to put a few on toweling and see what happens. And it's a great way to determine if your seeds are viable or not.
Love it. Superb. Okay, Maestro, here we go. Next question, please. Who is it going to be from? Here we go. It's Jeff in Melton Mowbray. Do you still have any fresh food growing in your garden this time of year? I've just got a few leeks left. Now, obviously, we've got, the global panel here, so maybe we've not Jeff's in Melton Mowbray, in the Midlands, kind of in England. We still got anything we're still growing that's in the ground, guys, that we can, I had my rosemary and my sage and my tea, and I've got some cabbages. That's about me done.
Well, I also have leeks, of course, and but at the moment there's chard.
Yeah, I've got chard,
Calabrese, spring cabbages, the purple sprouting broccoli is not far behind. I looked at it today, and it's just starting to form its buds, so that won't be far off. And the other one that's been really good for me is lamb's lettuce, also known as corn salad. And these are plants that I planted last year, and they're still going strong, and they've been through a -5 frost, which is incredible for a salad to go through that and still be productive. So that's definitely a winner.
Amazing what we can do. Maureen or Rhonda T, do you want to add anything?
Well, my memory of growing in Scotland is that there was lots of kale available at this time of year. And like Piers has said, all the cabbage family are your best bet to keep going through the winter. And I would usually plant garlic around November, so there should be some of that on the go too. You can kind of try and see if there's if you're desperate for a bit of early garlic, you could maybe raid your patch. So the cabbage family are the winners for winter growing, as we know with Brussels sprouts at Christmas time.
They certainly are, yes, but too much cabbage. Whew. Rhonda T. Anything in the ground? I mean, you're obviously you should have had snow, girl. So I don't know.
Right. Which is quite lovely that things aren't buried. So kale and green onion tops. The ground's frozen, so I can't pull out the whole onion, but I have the tops. And the lamb's lettuce. I have that everywhere. It's native. So we have plenty of that as well.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But isn't it a wonderful time, Jeff, from Melton Mowbray, when we just things are starting to come up. Oh, yes, they are. Okay, Maestro, next question, please. Here we go. It's Tony. I heard on Winter Watch last week that the RSPB is researching into feeding birds and may recommend we don't use bird feeders anymore, partly because of the spread of disease. How else can we track birds to our plots to increase biodiversity and the pest control services they give us? Well, Tony, I mean, I went out today and I gave them some black sunflower seeds. I just couldn't. It's almost like they were talking to me. But, we do need to be aware of changing, increasing knowledge and things change. So what can we do if we're not going to feed the birds? What sort of plants and things could we grow? Who wants to start us off with that one? Rhonda T, go for it.
The avian flu is something that's really prevalent in this area as well. And with the sanctuary, we have to be really cognizant about what we do as far as biosecurity and keeping our domestic birds safe. So we are very, very reluctant to have anything out as far as a sunflower seed or a feeder or anything like that, because we don't want to attract some of these individuals in. However, what we do is we have fields of sunflowers and other large seeded perennials that are very attractive to the birds. They also come in for the insects that are around the veg as it grows, a lot of the other plants. And I look at birds as pollinators. So anything that insect pollinators enjoy, typically your birds will too. Maybe not the pollen, but the seeds and sometimes some of the saps. And to keep your garden areas, your growing areas full of perennial and annual flowering plants, and let them go to seed. It's typically the way that we share we share the love with the local birds, instead of feeding them in a specific location or a specific feed.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, Piers, what about you? I know you've got great experience with your making wildlife films, and your love of you've spoken before about you just love it when they come in. The birds come in. So, if we're not going to feed them directly, what could we do?
Well, plant all the plants that they naturally feed from, as Rhonda's just mentioned, teasels and things like that. And another obvious thing that we can all do is to put a pond in our garden, because that will attract birds on its own. Also, berry bearing bushes like hawthorn and holly and ivy and stuff like that. it's all the natural stuff. And I was actually myself watching Winter Watch last week, and I saw this discussion, which has been going on for some time, the research into this. And as mentioned, it's partly the spread of disease by attracting all these different species of birds into one feeder where they can rapidly leave disease behind that another bird will pick up. But also it's because it will unnaturally increase the population of the more aggressive birds. So, for example, with the tit family, great tits and blue tits, which of course we all love them to come to the feeders, but they are relatively aggressive compared to some of the other tits like marsh tits and coal tits, for example. So the result is that these populations of the more aggressive birds will flourish, and the more timid birds, their populations are declining because they don't have the nest sites and things like that the blue tits have taken over. So it is quite complicated, and especially because so many people love feeding their birds. Currently, 64% of gardens in the UK put out bird feeders, which is millions, and it's a multi-million industry. So it's very complex, and the RSPB have said that in the spring they're going to announce their findings of their research. But if they do say, actually, we now recommend that you don't feed birds in your garden artificially with bird feeders, it's going to be a huge thing. So watch this space.
Yep, it's very good to be aware of. And of course, the answer seems to be biodiversity, which naturally our veganic system of growing is creating. Oh, here we go. I saw that about feeding the birds. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are the same. I put some sunflowers out. I had some big sunflowers and I put them out. So maybe I need to look at that research myself. But it was almost like they were calling to me. Maureen, do you want to add anything to that, or shall we move on? Oh, I think you're muted. You're just muted there. There we go.
Yeah, great answers. I don't really have anything else to add.
Yeah, no, we'll await that research from our friends at the RSPB. Maestro, please. Where are we going now? So Gabby from Gran Canaria. This year, I'm going to be growing on a small plot a distance from our house, and that's where the only tap is. What plants would you recommend to deal with the hot sun? And what's the best mulch to use? Well, the best mulch to use is veganic, whatever you can get, I'd say. But Maureen, I'm going to start with you, with your experience of Portugal. Maybe it's a similar climate, possibly to Gran Canaria. If you don't have a tap nearby, what could Gabby grow?
Well, yeah, I had to install a major irrigation system where I was, which was a new experiment for me, because growing in Scotland, you never really even needed to water anything during the summer.
Yeah.
But what I did in Portugal is, if you can connect with a farmer that is creating the straw bales, and then as soon as they arrive, flood them with water and try and get any seeds that are in there to germinate before you then spread that on the ground as mulch. And like I mentioned before, the fava beans are a spectacular mulch, really, really good system to use them. Yeah, and it's really important because bare earth in hot climates just cook the plants. And you can have magnificent seedlings and you've been potting them on and you think, oh, they're ready to go in the ground. You put them in the ground, but if you don't have quite a thick amount of straw, like I was saying about the seaweed, if you need about a foot of straw on top, if you don't have that to protect the heat, the temperature that can accumulate in the bare earth, those plants are just not going to thrive or even survive even. So yeah, it's definitely worth getting the mulch right. I can't remember what the other part of the question was.
Well, it was just about what plants could be grown where there is because she doesn't have a tap near to the plot. So it's it's
Yeah.
carrying water. What plants might do better?
Okay. Yeah. I guess you just have to look at what the native plants are that are
Yeah.
growing without any water at all.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of rock roses. Depending on the time of year, you can get, in the spring you can get nettle and cleavers and all sorts of things growing. But then in the heat of the summer, it's really big bushes, shrubs. So you have to get your perennials in place. Sage and rosemary can pretty much survive without any water, especially if you've got the local subspecies, the local variety. Thyme doesn't really like it. I've lost some thyme plants where the irrigation hasn't been working. Yeah, and rue, you can get native rue. There's a lot of native plant. You just have to pay attention to what is managing by itself.
Yeah.
And then sort of extrapolate from that family or that genus.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes you can't do things in a hurry. I visited Auroville, the spiritual community in India, and there was an incredible forest garden, and it had been a desert, so maybe comparable heat to what Gabby's talking about. But it'd taken them 40 years. So they just grew plants that would survive, and then with those plants they used that to then create to make compost for the next ones, and then they could grow the next ones. So it was a long process, but they got there incredibly, and we can get there, I think. So I mean, I'm not in Gran Canaria, but I had tomatoes that had just grown up through the cracks. The little seeds had grown, and I didn't water them once. And I just left them in the heat of the summer, and I had amazing. Piers or Rhonda T, anything else we could possibly suggest to Gabby?
I think some plants that are hardier, like agave or aloe vera. Those tend to be very, very happy with drought and hot weather. I've had a lot of success with yarrow, as a matter, just it growing and not having any sort of moisture at all. Euphorbia and some succulents are really happy to be in the drought. Oleander and even some lavenders as well. Not all lavenders, you have to kind of look at the types, but they tend to be happy. And things like pampas grass, once you get it started, it'll just keep growing. So those are the options that I can think of that I've had success with.
Now, Piers, I know you're on the south coast, not quite Gran Canaria, but anything else for Gabby?
Well, a few crops that we know can stand full sun are things like aubergines, cucumbers, the peppers and the chilies, and sweet potatoes as well. I've had some good success with sweet potatoes. In general, of course, it's best to look for plants that have deep roots so that they can find whatever moisture there would be. But as the others have said, mulching is the key.
Yeah, and possibly, Gabby, you could try and get some sort of storage for some water near the plot, if that would be possible. I know friends that have done that. Anyway, Maestro, great answers, by the way, panel. Just before the next question comes out, if you're listening to this, right, please do like, share and subscribe, and also let us know where you are watching from. Maestro, here we go. It's Beth in Devon. It's wet and cold outside, but I'm itching to get planting. What can I do in late January? She's got a few raised beds and a small greenhouse. She's getting on a bit, and she does miss her husband, bless her. Oh, well, we'll send you lots of love and healing. So, Piers, you mentioned you're getting the broad beans going. It's cold and it's wet. I mean, if you can start a few things off in the greenhouse, or maybe have a little greenhouse in the greenhouse? Anyone else got any ideas for Beth? What could she do?
Well, in addition to the broad beans, there are a number of things that you can try to get going now, especially undercover, either in a greenhouse or a cold frame or something like that. Like, for example, pea shoots. You can grow peas now and harvest them as shoots when they're just a few inches high to use in salads and things like that. Peas will germinate fairly cold. Radishes, lettuces, all that sort of thing. And of course, don't forget that we're now reaching the time where there are a number of crops that you want to start growing because they have a long season, and these you'll start off either in a heated propagator or indoors. So they're things like aubergines, the peppers and the chilies, and the tomatoes, which need a long growing season. And it's usually February is when I start kicking those off.
Brilliant, super. Maureen, anything that you would say to Beth? What could she do?
Yeah, I think that heating pad that you can put underneath your trays, your seed trays, is really helpful. And there's again these sort of cabbage family plants like Mizuna, or the salad greens. They sprout really, really quickly, and you can have like these little salad. You could be generating greens for a salad or to steam, because they sprout and get into, maybe 2 or 3 inches high very, very quickly within 2 or 3 weeks. So you can kind of supplement what you're doing as for greens at this time of year by heating up your seed beds trays and putting these salad greens in. You can have miniature salads.
Yes. Oh, that sounds fantastic. Some fresh greens in the winter. Oh, it just gives you the energy, doesn't it? Rhonda T, anything you want to add to that?
In February, I start all of my alliums. So my green bunching onions, my regular red, white, and yellow onions, my Japanese long stem green onions, and bunching onions. So I start them actually on heat and under lights. But once they're germinated and they're starting to grow, then you can put them in the greenhouse. But if you don't want to do anything outside, you can sprout anything. And your greens, obviously your salads inside, but your brassicas, you can sprout. You can sprout corn and have corn shoots. Anything that you have, if you have leftover seeds from last year, sprout them and eat the shoots. And they, a sunny windowsill is really all you need to do that, and a jar. And there are many ways you can sprout seeds, but that's a good use of your seeds from last year, and to get some more nutrition and get started planting something in the cold and wet.
Wonderful. Okay, so panel, the show is just, time is flying by. So let's just see if we can whiz through these remaining questions. So what we'll do is we'll just maybe have one of you answer each one, unless you're dying just to put something in. So Maestro, what have we got then? It's Kate. I'm planning on moving to a house with a small garden and no planting. Please, could you advise me about the best trees to plant at the bottom of the garden for privacy, support nature without causing any damaging root issues? Okay, what could she plant then? Some trees for some screening. Piers, I'm going to go to you. Just my intuition tells me that.
Well, of course, I'd go for fruit trees: apples,
Yes.
pears, plums, cherries. You can grow them fairly close together, and if you're worried about the size, then just prune. I mean, you're going to be pruning them anyway, so you can prune them to keep them small if you need to. But if you choose the right root stock, they're not going to get enormous anyway.
Okay. Do we have any advice on pruning apple? Well, it's a good time of year to prune your apples, I would say. That question's just spun in there. Okay, let's go to the next one, please, Maestro. What have we got? Yes, I would. Oh, Becky. Okay, so I know who this one's going to. It's great. We're planting a medicinal herb garden at our school. What herbs would you recommend? That's Becky from Essex. I just want to hold this up for a little minute, Maestro, if you don't mind. Just coming back to me. There we go. It's the latest Growing Green. There we go. Which is, of course, is the magazine of the Vegan Organic Network. It's fantastic magazine. And there's a feature article about the Veganic School Garden in Suffolk. And I was there today, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, indeed, because we're planting a forest garden at the school. And the local people in the town have seen what we've been doing, all the work with the Growing Nature Academy. And they did a fundraising quiz night. They've raised us 350 quid. So that's going towards the forest garden. So things are really happening. And do get your Growing Green International magazine. If you sign up for the Von Map, you get one, apparently. And, of course, become a member. But, Maureen, over to you, my dear. The school wants to grow some medicinal herbs. They want a medicinal herb garden. And isn't that brilliant? Give us some highlights for the kids.
Best things to go for.
Yep, you're good. Yep.
Am I good now? Yeah. Okay. So the best things to go for, I would say, for ease of growing are the perennials, because they'll just keep coming back every year with very little effort and little input from you. So things like what we mentioned already, sage, rosemary, thyme, they'll keep coming back year after year. There are some annuals that are really worth making the effort to germinate every year, and the main one of those I would suggest is calendula. It's and chamomile. Because they're annuals, they'll go straight into flowering fairly quickly. They grow very quickly and complete their whole life cycle in one season. So you can get loads of seeds from them as well. So you can collect loads of calendula and chamomile seeds for the next season. But the great thing for the kids is that they can see the whole life cycle relatively quickly. You know, you could have calendula flowering within 10-12 weeks, and chamomile even within 8-9 weeks, and also some of the biannuals, so they're the ones that produce all their leaves in the first year, and then in the second year they'll sprout their flowering stem. And parsley, or all sorts of parsley, either the flat leafed one or the curly parsley, that keeps on producing all year in the first year, and then you can keep the seeding back by harvesting the flowering shoots, so you can like keep the green leafy part of it going for even longer in the second year when it should be doing all its flowering and seeding. And depending on the temperature, you could have basil doing that as well. Keep nipping the flowering shoots as they start to come, and you keep the leafing part going. And of course, mints, the aromatic plants, mint, any kind of mint, spearmint, apple mint, peppermint, they are so good for interaction with the school, you know, with the kids rather, because the smells are amazing. They just you brush the leaf and they've got the smell. Melissa, these kind of mints, and Melissa, and of course, once you've got them in the garden, you don't need to worry about, they'll just keep coming back. And in fact, you might need to keep an eye on them if they're starting to spread elsewhere. So I think that's a good starting point, and lots to be getting on with.
It certainly is. Well, I think Becky's got some work to do with it, and it's really starting to happen. Now, look, we just got one quick one, Rhonda T. This is going to go to you, all right? Because I know it was a question from... Oh, here we go. We're planting a hedge around a 5-acre field. Do you have any recommendations for hedging, Rhonda T? What could she put in for some hedging? Do you got hedging plants on the terra? Oh, you're muted, darling. Just gotta.
We don't have hedging to speak of. We're unable to grow in the desert. we have a lot of grass hay growing. But I'm not familiar with
No, that's
having
fine. Well, I tell you,
control.
it wasn't a question I wanted to ask you, but Maestro put it up. I'm going to answer it for Natalie there. You want to just have a good mixture. A good mixture, and the sea buckthorn is amazing. Ooh, the vitamin C. Ooh, and some crab apples and some elder, Italian elder, just all sorts, and then some hazel and rowan, and just got a mixture. Just do a mixture and get it in. Rhonda T, this is what I wanted to ask you, my darling. This is is there anything you're going to grow this year that you've not grown before? You got anything planned? Oh, I'm going to try that.
We try to minimize the new varieties and the new plants, because it gets a little bit out of hand. I had 500 different plants at one point. So yeah, if I choose a new one, I have to take an old one. But this year I am going to be trying red curry squash. Which is a winter squash. It's a kabocha. So that's what we're very eager to try. And then a new onion, a Stutzberg type of a yellow storage onion. So those are the two new things that are going in.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I tell you what, panel, that's what a fantastic show. And the time has just flown by. I just want to remind everyone, please do support the Vegan Organic Network. It's brought us all together. They put on these amazing events, and you can go to veganorganic.net for more information about the wonderful things they're doing. And of course, please do check out the Von Map. If you're not on the Von Map, get on it, vonmap.org, because... Thank you, Maestro. Because next Wednesday, that's February the 4th, at 7 o'clock, we're hosting the World Map Meetup. And there's amazing connections have been made by people who've found someone, and they're like, oh, they're on the map, and oh, I needed this, and all these people have been brought together. The show that Dan did recently with the lovely ladies from India, the veganic farmers in India, they all met because of the Von Map. So I'm really looking forward to next week. So that's vonmap.org. And don't forget as well, our friends at Learn Veganic, they've got their Learn Veganic course starting on the 11th of February. All right. So you go learnveganic.com for that. Well, that's it from me. I'd like to say thank you so much to Maureen Robinson. She is beautiful. That's the herbalpath.net. To Rhonda T. Wallace. That is terrafarmsanctuary.org. To Piers Warren, piercewarren.co.uk, and myself, Giles Bryant. I'm going to pick myself up at the end there. Why not? You can go worldhealingproject.com. Thank you for the nice show, Dan Graham. Thanks, everyone. It's been a great show. I hope you have a wonderful year.